Do the same principles apply to same-sex relationships as, I guess, opposite-sex relationships in terms of what we should be looking for, how we should be communicating, roles, responsibilities, masculine and feminine energy, or is it different? I want to start there first.
Personally, I think, humans relating to other humans dynamically, whatever gender you identify with, it comes to the same components. At our core, I believe we are more similar than dissimilar, but that doesn't mean that, even, again, throwing away gender designations,
right,
individuals are different. We actually thrive as a species when we allow, like a puzzle, all of us to have differences, different ideas, different strengths, different weaknesses, right? Different ways of being in navigating the world. So when we're talking about our most intimate, personal, romantic relationships, regardless of the gender that you're attracted to or engaging in relationships with, I think the core components are the same. And at our core, we all desire to be in relationship, to be connected. It might not be romantic. I'm open to actually a future where we begin to explore different iterations of relationships that might work for us. But at our core, we all desire to be part of some interpersonal dynamic.
Yeah.
Whether it's with one person, with a community of people, whatever it is, we need that. And in that then space of this relationship, whatever it might look like, we all have the same desire to be honored for our individuality. So without even needing to gender it, I think if we make more and more space to create safety for every participant to begin to be who they really are, I think that's the goal ultimately.
Does that come down to like total acceptance of your partner, or what does that mean?
Means depends on how we're defining, right?
Sure.
Acceptance, because I think this is a blurred line some of us go to, where we have the idea that acceptance means enabling, condoning, allowing behaviors.
Right.
We can accept someone for how they are or how they're choosing to be or whatever it is, and make a choice that might be different than, right? Engaging, enabling, allowing.
I've got a philosophy. I would love your opinion to break this apart, or tell me if you think it's a decent philosophy, or I'm sure I'll add to this philosophy. But I'm learning more and more through my healing journey, through my work, through experiencing a beautiful relationship that I have right now with Martha, my girlfriend, and us doing the healing work together. Before I got into the relationship with Martha, I said, listen, I've always wanted to start in a relationship with therapy. Not because something's wrong or off, but because I want us both on the same page. Because I want to minimize future pain because we're not communicating or something. And it was kind of a non-negotiable for me entering this new relationship, because I was like, I either want to be single and at peace and love myself, or this needs to happen to allow for the potential for it to work in a beautiful way. And so thankfully she was all about it. She was like, yes, that sounds great. And it's incredible what we've been able to cultivate with this environment of shared commitment to healing growth, both individually and together. So I have this kind of like 6-part philosophy right now, and I'm sure it'll have more parts to it, on setting up the best foundation for a thriving, fulfilling, intimate relationship. The first thing is both individuals being committed to a healing journey, a growth mindset, but it means diving into the healing journey individually and together. So working on it together and individually, not one partner only committed to growth and healing and the other partner is saying, well, I'm not going to look at these things and I'm just going to allow myself to react, but both parties being on a healing journey. That's number one. And committed to it throughout the entire relationship. Number 2, 3, and 4 is having alignment on our values, our vision, and our lifestyle. Our values of what we really care about as individuals. And so I actually went to Sedona with Martha, and we did a journaling practice separately where we both wrote down our values before we got committed. And I wanted to make sure that I didn't just say something and she said it back, or vice versa.
Me too.
So we both wrote it down separately in different exercises. Then we looked at the paper together, and about 80% was all aligned, right? And the things that we had differently were not out of alignment. It was just like, okay, cool, you care about that, that's fine. But our values were in alignment. right? As opposed to, someone saying, well, I don't want to have kids, and the other person wanting kids, or whatever it might be. It's like we were in alignment on almost everything. So the values, the vision, what is the vision for our life in a relationship? Is it aligned? Do we have the same vision? Do we going in the same place as opposed to different directions? And then our lifestyle. Are we in alignment on, the types of things we enjoy doing? Because I think if one person loves to travel and the other person just wants to stay at home, there's just got to be a little bit more friction. I'm not saying it's not possible. I just think it's harder. So values, vision, and lifestyle. That's 2, 3, and 4. Number 5 would be before you enter a committed relationship, accepting, learning about them in a conscious way through spiritual connection, not sexual chemistry. Because I think the sexual chemistry confuses us without getting clear on all these other things first, right? There's a false foundation without the clarity of the values, vision, and lifestyle. So once you see and explore the individual you're in front of, saying, I choose you and accept you for how you've shown up with your behaviors and your words match your actions consistently. So accepting the person and saying, okay, if this is who you are, I accept you. You don't need to change for me because we're in alignment on these things. So I accept who you are. Now, if you fall off of a standard that we have on these shared values, then that's different, right? Something's got to give there. So that's number 5 is accepting someone based on how they've shown up, not hoping that they'll change or investing in them for the potential of what they'll do in 5 to 10 years. Well, maybe they can step into this, right? And then the 6th thing, I just think is so critical. And I know this is like a popular book, which some people may agree with a lot, but I feel like it's so critical to how we were raised, is having alignment on love languages. I've been in relationships where the way I've given and expressed love is not the way someone needs to receive it. They don't feel loved that way through words of affirmation or touch. And it's just more friction to have to do something that personally you don't typically do. So if someone really wants you to give gifts all the time and you're like, I don't care about that. You have to constantly do something you're not good at, a weakness, and try to improve that to make someone feel loved. So being in alignment on love languages and both doing the test to see, are we in alignment? Is how I show up make you feel loved naturally and organically, and vice versa? Or do you need me to become someone else for you to feel loved? Those 6 phases, I feel like if you can find, again, there's no perfect relationship, I get it, but if you can find alignment on those 6 things and be on the healing journey of acceptance, of we're both in this together, shared values, vision, and lifestyle, choosing based on accepting who they are, not the potential of who they become or the idea of them, and then having alignment on love languages, I feel like you're setting yourself up for a good environment for the potential to thrive and create peace and fulfillment. What are your thoughts on that philosophy of my, newfound experiences about love and intimacy?
Well, I'm smiling. I think there's so much profound in what you're sharing. And the first really profound aspect of everything you shared, and I'm going to simplify it as I often do, is knowing yourself.
Yeah.
And I'm sharing this because I've heard from a very large percentage of people how more often than not, the focus when you begin to meet someone, get to know them, go out on dates, whatever it is, however that looks for you, focusing more on, well, do they like me? Are they going to call me back? How was it the date for them, right? As opposed to, do I like them? How am I experiencing this person? Is this someone I have interest in getting to know more? So I think that's one really important, profound aspect of what you're sharing, which is being at that or cultivating and continuing to increase your self-awareness, what you want. And so many of us, again, from childhood, there was safety, maybe even, in worrying so much about other people and fitting your way into or being liked by someone else. So if you do see those patterns in yourself, I would imagine that they were adaptations that, again, were aimed at keeping you safe. So then the goal would be to begin to turn that focus, and as opposed to worrying about what they think of you, and if you're going to get that call back, begin to attune to how you feel in this person's presence. And another profound thing is communication. And this might seem so simplistic, but I used to do a lot of work with couples. When I was in Philadelphia, I worked at the Council for Relationship, it was called. And true to its name, most people that came through the doors for treatment and sat in my office were couples. And I mean, it's shocking to think of couples even on the brink of making a commitment like marriage who haven't actually had a direct conversation about, let alone values, if they even are knowing what their own values are around children, like actual decisions that the couple might, face together, never having directly explored with their partner what their interest is in terms of having children or not, what physical geographical location might they want to look at, how might they want their life to look. You brought up travel. Some of these things for so many more couples than I would have imagined aren't actually spoken about. And maybe some of it is because these people as individuals might not know, right? Discovering yourself in that way. What are your values? Even if we are adults who maybe heard that word value and want to live a value-driven life, we might not actually know what we value and how we want our future. We might be relying on the relationships we saw in childhood or the limitations that we've created based on, right, the adaptations, how we felt we had to amend ourselves. So those two things, while I simplified them, are a big part, of that dating journey, getting really connected to you so that you can not only know if you're interested in someone, so you can have those conversations that you and Martha had, where you're able to show up with your side of the value sheet to even see if there is alignment there, and then communication. I'm having a thought too, just quickly about the love languages. And without going into too much detail, I'm very interested. I have another surprise book project that might be coming down the line, all about relationships, called How to Be the Love You Seek. And in that, I actually have a whole chapter devoted to questioning this old model of love languages, very similarly to the way you're questioning it. So
interesting.
Definitely a thing to think about. And I feel very similarly with, is that just an extension of adapting, making someone change? I really explore where love comes from in and of itself. I mean, even the title, How to Be the Love You Seek. Really, again, trying to put the focus kind of not only back on the self, but on authenticity and space for that authenticity in our relationship. You're not feeling safe if needs aren't being met, and therefore you're not feeling safe. The way you're going to be showing up is not going to be a safe partner, and it might not be a loving one.
It could be unhealthy too to the people around you, right? Because you're not getting the needs that the love that you need for yourself.
And the reality of it is we've all adapted,